Nigerian comedian and actor Wole Orele has sparked debate on social media after strongly criticizing women who opt for surrogacy despite being physically capable of carrying a pregnancy. In a post shared on his social media handle on Monday, Arole described such choices as misguided and influenced by wokeness and modern ideologies that, according to him, undermine divine purpose. He wrote, "Listen carefully. It is a blessing for a woman to carry her baby in her womb. That's how God wants it. Don't let wokeness derail you. Unless for medical reasons, she can adopt options like surrogacy, IVF, and all, while acknowledging the need for assisted reproduction in cases of infertility or health challenges." Arole condemned surrogacy as a matter of personal preference. He dismissed the notion that women should be free to choose surrogacy simply based on autonomy or convenience. You can't say, "My body, my decision. I don't feel like carrying a child. I want surrogacy." No, your body is God's temple, Arole said. The comedian further argued that the womb is a sacred gift meant to fulfill a divine role, not something to bypass for lifestyle reasons. Don't let wokeness derail you. Your body is God's temple. Surrogacy is not something you just choose. This is a reason God gave you a womb, Arole added. His comments have since stirred reactions online, drawing both support and criticism over his stance on women's reproductive choice and the broader conversation around bodily autonomy and evolving family structures. Now, when I saw the story, I was like, okay, how do this relate to young ones? But we are in that generation where we call them the woke generation. We call our generation
the woke
generation.
I'm not a woke person.
Yes. So, what's your take on this particular matter?
Well, he talks about modern ideologies, he talks about divine purpose and wokeness, and then I feel like I support autonomy of body to a certain extent, but then abortion just crosses the line. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about surrogacy. I feel that he contradicts himself when he decides to use the Bible as his point of, as his own argument by saying that your body is the temple of God. Because I can literally sit here and cite multiple examples of surrogacy in the Bible that may not have been termed as surrogacy, but it's actually surrogacy from the front view. Because if you look at Abraham, Abraham was I think 99 or 100 and Sarah was about 90 something, and they didn't have a child. And then Sarah told Abraham, "Well, take my handmaid Hagar," and and then she did that, and then Hagar conceived and gave birth to Ishmael. And then later on, Sarah had a child. So what's that? What are we going to call that? That's basically what you're talking about here, and you're using the Bible. And then again, there's Jacob. Jacob went and married his mother's brother's daughters. And then I think Leah was able to give birth, but then Rachel wasn't able to give birth. And then she had a handmaid, Zilpah. And then she gave Jacob to Zilpah and said, "Sleep with her since I can't have children." And then he did that, of course, and then she gave birth to at least 5 or 4 sons for Zilpah. And then Leah also did the same thing. And then she gave her handmaid Bilpah, I think Bilhah, that was her name, and to Jacob. And then he did the same thing. So what are we talking about at the end of the day? If you can't use the Bible, you can't use your body is the temple of God as an argument, because it's not credible. It's not sustainable.
Now, surrogacy is a woman, carrying a child that is not hers for another woman. Now, is there? I would like the medical practitioners to actually help me out on this. Is there no mixture of egg that they put in? Is there like a physical mating of the man with this particular woman he wants to help carry the child? I thought the doctor just implants this woman's egg in you and the mixed sperm, the child just grows in you and you end up.
I think that's IVF.
Okay.
Basically, when you can't like have children through normal sexual intercourse, so then they take the sperm from the man and then the egg from the woman, and they infuse it in a tube, and then they clean the woman to make sure there's no bacteria, and then they inject it to the woman. So that's IVF.
Okay. So surrogacy is you basically going to sleep with another woman.
I think it's different. I think I don't really know for sure, but I do know that another woman basically carries the child for you because you do not have the physical capacity to carry the child. And he's talking about the womb here, saying that the womb is a gift and that your body is the temple of God, and then giving birth is your divine purpose. Not every woman's purpose is to give birth. I don't know if this might come off as controversial, but there are a lot of successful women that don't have children. There's, who can I think of? Oprah Winfrey, for instance, doesn't have a child. She did have a child at some point, but then the child died. But she doesn't have a child till date, so...
But she did have a child.
She did have a child. She did give birth, but that was actually out of rape. So, you see, she doesn't have a child, and she's renownedly seen as one of the most influential and successful women in the entire world. So, your purpose is not only motherhood. You have other purposes.
Your purpose is not only motherhood.
Take it from me.
You have other purposes. Now, do you think Wole's comments about surrogacy is being misguided? It's being misguided, yes.
Being misguided?
Yes. Misguided now via his church, reflecting it to the common perspective in the society, or are they out of touch with the modern views of reproductive choices?
First of all, technology has evolved, and you can now have children without necessarily having sexual intercourse. So you can now have children, and I see nothing wrong with that. I mean, not everybody wants to necessarily, not every woman has conceived through sexual intercourse. So IVF does help a lot of people to a certain extent, and I feel that he's not actually, maybe this is my opinion, he's coming from a place of, should I say, traditionalist mentality. He's not, because we just debunked the whole issue of bringing your arguments from the Bible. Africa is a very traditional place. We're more inclined to traditional beliefs and way of life, and we just simply refuse. That's why a lot of people are actually against the whole woke movement and LGBT, all those things. But no, we're actually against it because we're more traditional, and we believe in our culture, and this is this and that is that, and that there's no means no and stuff like that. So I feel like that's where he's coming from in another sense. And that's why a lot of people are actually against surrogacy and other things. But no, that's wrong, that's inaccurate. So I feel like that's where he's coming from.
Okay, so how important is bodily autonomy to you, and how do you think women should have the freedom to actually choose surrogacy or other reproductive options based on their personal preference?
Well, it's based on personal preference. It's not my preference. It's your preference at first. But then when it comes to bodily autonomy, I see a lot of debates online about abortion. Some people are pro-life, some people are pro-choice. I do not support abortion. I think abortion is bad. I think you're killing a child, even though it's not actually a child yet. It's going to be a child. It's growing and it's living inside of you. So I think that to a certain extent, bodily autonomy should have limits. There should be a limit.
There should be a limit.
You shouldn't kill somebody else for your own gratification. There should be a level of personal responsibility. But regards to childbirth and giving birth to children, then it all boils down to this: do you have the physical capacity to give birth to these children? Some women do not have that. Some women do not have the mental and emotional capacity to give birth to children, because I don't know if you've heard of postnatal depression, or I think something like that, where a woman gives birth and then she starts getting depressed after giving birth. And some women suffer from xenophobia, which is the fear of pregnancy and childbirth. Basically, you are afraid of the idea of housing a child inside of you and having to give birth to that child. I know a lot of women struggle with it. I, to a certain extent, kind of struggle with it. But God's got me. But
when she said I, to some certain extent, struggle with it, I was going to ask, how many children do you have?
I don't need to have. But like, my point basically is that some people do not have that capacity, and you should not come and place down on them and be like, you must give birth. You know, because are they giving awards for who gave birth through the normal conception or through other medical processes. They're not giving awards. So I see no reason why this should be a topic of it's important as a topic of discourse, but why this should even be an argument. Just do what works for you. If you know you don't have the mental capacity, if you know you can't just surge through and give it a little push, and you really want this baby, then yeah.
Now, don't you think it's an argument or is raising eyebrows because the generation we are in now are taking advantage of this, and this probably might have been an issue for somebody, yeah, having that issue, having that discussion with your spouse, and you telling your spouse, like, take for instance now, yes, you have all the anxiety thing with getting pregnant, and you're telling your spouse that, okay, see what we're going to do, and he doesn't accept it. But because this is a generation that we are in that has seen it as a norm, yeah, don't you think that's why it's raising eyebrows?
First of all, how many Gen Zs are like married with children? There should be, because like, yeah, there should be. But then again, they teach these things a lot in marriage seminars, a lot of relationships. Whenever you and somebody are coming together, there are two things there's one thing that has to be there. It's common interest. And like similar beliefs and mentalities. I can't marry you if you don't believe the same thing to a certain extent. We can have differences in opinion slightly, but at least we should have similar interests. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So for me to be in a relationship with somebody or married to somebody that does not accept, okay, it's actually fine, then that's an error on my part. In fact, that's an error on both their parts. So they should have shared interests. At the end of the day, and then maybe you should look at, okay, why do you want us to do it? Is it because of your anxiety issues? Is it because you're in the era of BBL, everybody's getting a BBL, and they don't know that this has medical implications? So you could do a BBL and then you could end up having complications and not being able to give birth. That's also another issue. Some people struggle with, oh, my body, if she is in the entertainment industry and she doesn't want to get too fat, which by the way I feel is kind of egotistical, but or you're a model and you don't want to get there, and we can talk about these things and see how to find common ground. It shouldn't be an issue to me.
It shouldn't be an issue. We should be able to find common ground. I'm sure you are learning a thing or two, because I am actually learning a thing or two out of this particular conversation, and I want to say thank you, Gate, for this amazing and brilliant insight.
Actually, continue.